There's a tick sitting on a blade of grass at the edge of your yard right now, front legs stretched out, waiting for your child to walk past. You have been told to spray your whole lawn to stop her. That is wrong, and the people who told you make money every time you believe it. So what did an old farmer in the mountains of Japan teach me to do instead for about 50 cents? My name is Ju Wang. For 11 years I lived and worked on a small farm in Nagano, Japan, up in the hills where the forest comes right down to the fields. Deer everywhere, wild boar, mice beyond counting, and ticks. The kind of tick country that would make an American pest control company rub its hands together. And in 11 years on that farm, I pulled exactly one tick off my body. One. My neighbor's grandfather, a man in his 80s who had farmed that hillside his whole life, laughed when I asked him how. He said the answer had been sitting in his barn since before the war. I did not always know this. When I moved back to the States and bought a house with 2 acres backing onto woods, I did what everyone does. I found a tick behind my daughter's ear on a Sunday night in June. Small. Dark. Dug in. My wife held the flashlight while I worked it out with tweezers, and my hands were shaking because I had read the same articles you have. Lyme disease. Fevers that do not leave. Kids who miss a year of school. We drove to urgent care the next morning and sat for 2 hours to be told to watch for a rash. Then I went home and called a spray company. $85 a visit, once a month, May through October. They fogged my whole yard. It smelled like a gas station. The fireflies disappeared that summer. And in August, I found another tick. On the dog this time, fat as a raisin. I'd paid over $300 by then. $300 for a quiet, dead-smelling yard that still had ticks in it. I stood in my driveway holding that dog, and I was angry. And then I remembered the old man in Nagano standing in his barn doorway, laughing at my question, and I felt like a fool. Quick word before I go further. The old methods my family uses, there is more of it than fits in any one video. I gathered the whole of it into a book you can buy in our pinned comment below. The book is the long version. If you want it, it is there. I will not mention it again. So I sat down that night, and I wrote to my old neighbor's family in Nagano, and I asked them to spell out exactly what the grandfather did. In what order? With what? What came back was so simple and so cheap that I did not believe it at first. Then I did it. That was 4 years ago. My daughter plays in that yard barefoot all summer. The dog sleeps in the grass. We have not had a tick on a person in this family in 4 years, and I have not paid a spray company $1. But before I show you what I do, I have to show you why the spray company was always going to fail. Because here is the question that stopped me cold. In 11 years on a mountain farm surrounded by forest, why did I never find a tick on the open ground around the house? Not once. Why there, and not here? The answer changed how I see my own yard. A tick is not like a mosquito. She cannot fly. She cannot jump. She cannot even walk very far. What she mostly does is dry out. A tick is a little bag of water on legs, and open sunlight kills her in hours. Your mowed lawn, the middle of it, the sunny part, is a desert to her. She cannot cross it, and she knows it. Which means every tick that has ever bitten anyone in your family came from one place. The edge. The 3-foot strip where your lawn meets the woods, the tall grass, the stone wall, the wood pile, the shady leaf litter under the hedge. That strip is her whole world. The spray company fogs your entire 2 acres and charges you for 2 acres. The tick only ever lived in a ribbon you could walk in 5 minutes. You are paying to bomb an ocean to kill something that lives on one beach. And it gets worse, because the fog does not even reach her. When the truck comes, the tick is not sitting up on the grass waving hello. She spends most of her life buried down in the damp leaf litter, under the mat of dead grass, in the cracks of the stone wall, exactly where a mist settling from above cannot go. The spray kills whatever is out in the open at 2 in the afternoon, which is bees, butterflies, fireflies, and ladybugs, and it misses most of what is hiding at ground level, which is ticks. Then it rains, the chemical washes away, and the company comes back next month for another $85. Do the math with me for 1 minute. 6 visits a season is over $500 a year, every year, forever. The system I'm about to show you costs about $60 the first year. Most of that for things you buy once, and under $30 a year after that. 500 against 30. And the $30 way works better, because it goes where the tick actually is instead of where the truck can reach. And there is a second thing, and this is the part almost nobody in this country will tell you. The tick is not really the problem. The mouse is. A young tick, the tiny one the size of a poppy seed, the one that actually spreads Lyme, takes her first meal of blood from a white-footed mouse. Scientists who study this say the mice are the engine of the whole disease. The mouse carries the sickness. The tick picks it up from the mouse. Then she waits on that blade of grass for your child. Kill ticks where they bite you, and you are always one step behind. Kill them where they feed first, on the mouse, in the nest, and you break the machine. The old man in Nagano understood both of these things without ever reading a study. Do not fight the whole forest, he told me. Draw a line and keep your side of it. His family had been keeping that line for generations, with something that costs almost nothing, a dark brown liquid that Japanese farmers have made for over 1,000 years, a jug of which was sitting in his barn the whole time. And once I tell you what it is, you will understand why no company in America is knocking on your door to sell it to you. There is no monthly contract in a 50-cent jug of smoke. Here's the system, in the order I do it, with what it costs. Step 1 is what I call walking the line. It is free and you do it once. Take a slow lap around your yard and find every place where mowed grass meets shade, brush, tall growth, leaf litter, stone, or wood. That is your tick zone. Mark it in your head. In my yard, it is the back 40 feet along the tree line, the side of the shed, and the old stone wall. Everything I do from here happens in that ribbon and nowhere else. Here is the trick inside this step. Rake the leaf litter out of that zone and let the sun in. Leaf litter is a tick nursery. It holds the damp she needs to survive. A dry edge is already half the battle, and a rake costs you nothing. Step 2 is the dry moat. Along the worst stretch of your edge, lay a barrier of wood chips or gravel, 3 feet wide. 3 feet, not 1. That number comes from researchers in Connecticut who measured how far ticks actually cross dry ground, and the answer is, mostly, they do not. The chips heat up in the sun and dry out, and a tick trying to cross them dies of thirst on the way. Many towns give wood chips away free from the transfer station. If you buy them, figure $20 to $40 for a good long run. You lay it once and top it up every spring. Here is the trick. Put the moat between the woods and wherever your kids actually play, not around the whole property. You are not building a castle. You are guarding a door. Step 3 is the 50 cents, the Japanese part, the thing from the barn. It is called mokusaku, wood vinegar. When Japanese farmers make charcoal, the smoke that rises off the wood is collected, cooled, and condensed into a dark liquid, and that liquid is wood vinegar. Farmers in Japan have used it for centuries to keep insects and pests off crops and out of barns, and to ticks and mites it smells like one thing only: fire. A forest fire coming. Nothing that lives in leaf litter stays where it smells smoke. You can buy a bottle of wood vinegar online or at some garden centers for around $15 to $20, and you use it diluted, 1 part vinegar to 20 parts water. Do the math on that. 1 cheap bottle makes gallons and gallons of spray. A full garden sprayer of the mixed stuff costs you about 50 cents. I fill a 2-gallon pump sprayer, the kind that costs $15 once and lasts forever, and I spray my edge zone, the base of the stone wall, under the deck, around the shed, and along the dog's fence line. Low and heavy, right at the ground, where the ticks actually sit. Not on flowers in bloom, ever, because while this stuff will not hurt a bee, she does not like the smell either, and I want her working my garden, not leaving it. It takes me 20 minutes. I do it every 2 to 3 weeks in season, and again after heavy rain. Here is the trick worth rewinding for. Spray in the evening when the ground is cooling and damp is rising, because that is when ticks climb up to the tips of the grass to hunt, and that is when the smell hits them hardest. One more thing about the smell, because your wife will ask. For the first hour, it smells like a campfire, like bacon almost, and then it fades to nothing you can notice. The ticks notice it for weeks. Their whole world is smell. They find you by the breath you exhale and the warmth of your skin, and wood vinegar buries all of it under one message, which is burn, leave, go. Step 4 is the mouse trick, and this is the one that works while you sleep. They are called tick tubes, cardboard tubes stuffed with cotton that has been treated with permethrin. You can buy a season's worth for about $50 under names like Thermacell, or make your own for $15 with toilet paper rolls, cotton balls, and a small bottle of permethrin from the farm store. Wear gloves when you make them, let them dry fully, and keep cats away until they are dry, because wet permethrin is not for cats. You tuck the tubes into the tick zone, 1 every 10 yards, along walls, under brush, by the woodpile. Then the white-footed mice do your work for you. A mouse finds soft cotton and cannot help herself. She carries it home to line her nest. And every young tick that tries to take her first meal of blood in that nest dies right there, before she ever gets sick, before she ever gets big, before she ever reaches that blade of grass at your yard's edge. The cotton never touches your children, your garden, or your dog. It goes straight from tube to nest underground. You put tubes out twice a year, once in spring and once in late summer, because ticks come in two waves. Here is the trick. Most people put out too few. Count your edge in yards, divide by 10, and do not skip the woodpile. The woodpile is Mouse City. Step 5 is the dust, and it is for the cracks. Food-grade diatomaceous earth, about $12 for a bag that lasts years. It looks like flour, and it is nothing but the crushed shells of tiny sea creatures, so fine and so sharp at the tiny scale of an insect that it scratches through a tick's waxy coat and dries her out from the outside. It is safe enough that farmers mix it into animal feed. I puff it into the gaps of the stone wall, along the bottom of the shed, and around the base of the deck posts, anywhere dry and sheltered where a tick might sit out a hot afternoon. Here's the trick. It only works dry. Rain turns it to mud, and mud does nothing. So put it under cover, not out in the open, and refresh it after storms. And while you have the bag out, one word about the dog, because the dog is the taxi that drives ticks past every wall and moat you build. Ask your vet for a proper tick preventative, and brush the dog at the door every evening in summer. 30 seconds. Run your fingers against the fur around the ears, the neck, between the toes. The dog is your last gate. Guard it like one. Now the honest part, because you deserve it and because the title of this video says overnight. The spray works overnight. You will sit outside the next evening and feel the difference at your ankles, and the 50 cents is real. But the tubes, the moat, the raked edge, the full system that takes one season to fully choke off the supply, because you are not just repelling this year's ticks, you are killing next year's before they hatch into your life. Anyone who promises the whole problem gone forever by morning is selling you a contract. I am telling you the truth instead. Fast relief tonight. Real victory by next spring. That is the deal, and it is a better deal than $85 a month for a fog that kills your fireflies. And that is the bigger picture I want to leave you with. The government counts around 500,000 Americans treated for Lyme disease every single year. 500,000. That is not an itchy bump. That is fevers, swollen joints, months of medicine, and for the unlucky ones, years of a fog in the brain that doctors are still arguing about. There are counties in the Northeast where nearly every family knows somebody who lost a summer to it, or more than a summer. And it is spreading, north and west, into places that never used to think about ticks at all, because winters are milder and the mice and deer go where they please. It is one of the fastest growing infectious diseases in this country, and the standard answer we are handed is a truck, a hose, and a chemical fog that does not know the difference between a tick and a honeybee, and a firefly and a ladybug. My first summer here, with the spray contract, my yard went quiet. No fireflies for my daughter to chase. The old man in Nagano would have shaken his head at that. His hillside was loud with life. Crickets, frogs, dragonflies, birds, and almost no ticks, because he never tried to kill everything. He kept his line, rake the edge, dry the moat, smoke the ribbon, feed the mice their poisoned cotton. An hour of work a month, maybe $30 a season after the first year, and the rest of the yard stays alive. He used to say the forest is not your enemy, it is your neighbor, and good fences make good neighbors. Even fences made of smell. That sentence is worth more than every contract I ever signed. He never once sprayed his fields in the years I knew him, and I never once saw him scratch a bite. Think about that. So here is what I want you to do tonight, before bed. When your kids come in from outside this summer, throw their clothes in the dryer on high for 10 minutes. Not the washer first, the dryer. Heat and dryness kill ticks, water does not, and that one free habit has probably stopped more tick bites in my house than anything I spray. Then this weekend, walk your line, rake your edge, and order or mix your wood vinegar. Tell me in the comments where you live and how bad the ticks are this year, and come back and tell me when you spray your edge, because I read everyone and I want to hear it. And next time, I'm going to show you what that same grandfather in Nagano kept hanging in his barn doorway. A simple jug trap with one pantry ingredient in it that cleared out hornets and wasps all summer without a single can of spray. And the ingredient is not sugar. It worked on that farm for 100 years. It will work on yours. Until then, keep your line, keep your bees, and keep your children barefoot in the grass where they belong.